Hi everybody, welcome back to Mando Lessons. I'm going to do a quick lesson today on common jazz chord progression called 2-5-1. If you're familiar with music theory, that's great and you'll be all set for this lesson. If you're not, and if the idea of a 1 chord, a 4 chord, and a 5, and a 2, and a 3, and a 6 chord are a little foggy to you, or you want some refreshers, there's lessons on those over at mandolessons.com. Also, the basics on how to build a chord, like you use the 1st, 3rd, and 5th note of a scale to build a major chord, and then flat the 3rd to make it minor, and then you can add the 7th in to make major 7, dominant 7, and minor 7 chords. If those are also unfamiliar to you, check out the website. But if all that sounds great, you are in good shape to jump into this lesson. So we're going to be working on a 2-5-1 progression. We'll start in the key of G and then move on from there. But the first, so we're going to be working with the 2 if we're using 4-note chords. So like 7 chords, the 2 chord, which is normally minor in a 3-note chord progression. So in the key of G, we have major G, A minor, B minor, C major, E major, F major, I just got mixed up. G, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp, diminished. And don't worry about that diminished chord because we're not going to use it. But we're going to be in this key of G to start off with. So the 2 chord, A minor, using a jazzy 7th voicing is going to have become an A minor 7. So you've got your A in the bass, and then your 7th degree of the scale is a G natural, which we're going to put on the 5th fret of the D string. So we've got 2nd fret, 5th fret, 3rd fret. On the A string is a C. So we have A, G natural, C. And that makes an A minor 7 chord. And there's just no 5th in this chord. There's no E note. And that's alright. There's an E right here, but we're just going to leave it out because these chords work really well together just using the bottom 3 sets of strings, the G, D, and A strings. And then our 5 chord, which is a D major, when we turn it into a dominant, when we turn it into a 7th chord, it becomes a dominant 7. So we have our notes are D, F sharp, A, and C natural. And in this, what we want to do is build a D dominant 7 chord that's very close in relationship to this chord. So we don't want to move a lot of fingers. So let's see, what do we have already? We have an A in the bass. That's alright because that's the 5th of a D chord, of a D dominant 7. And then we have a G on the 2nd set of strings, on the D strings. And there's no G in a D dominant 7 chord. But there's an F sharp, which is right below it. F sharp right there, 4th fret on the D string. So we now have A and D, A and F sharp on the G and D strings. And then our C note is still held over from that minor 7 A chord. And that's alright because that C is the flat 7 of a D dominant chord, D dominant 7. So now we have 2, 4, 3, which is a D dominant 7 chord because we have A, F sharp, and C natural. And now you'll notice there's not even a D in this D chord, but that's alright because it becomes implied because when you put these 2 sets of chords together, they sound really good. And your ear kind of fills in the D. It really kind of ties it all together. So we're just gonna right now switch between this A minor 7, 2, 5, 3, and 2, 4, 3, which is our D dominant. So let's just get a nice little pattern. So it's just moving that one finger. And then, so we have our 2 chord, minor 7, 5, dominant 7. Now we want our 1 chord. And a lot of times I'll use a major 7. So we have our G major chord, but then you can also make it a major 7 chord by taking that G down to an F sharp. Nice kind of sparkly sound to it. So it's open, open, 2, 2. We have the G is our root, D is our 5th, B on the A string is our 3rd, F sharp is our major 7. Kind of opens up the chords after those close voicings. So we have A minor 7, D7, just that one finger move, to our G major 7. We can also leave out that major 7 at the end. It gives it a little more closed sound. And leave off the E string. And that's a great 2-5-1 progression. And that's used a lot in jazz. Probably sounds fairly jazzy by default. Those are not your average bluegrass chords, or folk chords. And now we can take this idea, this A dominant, A minor, D7, G major idea, and move it into a bunch of different keys. So all we need to do is slide it up. Let's go to the key of A flat. So our last chord is going to be A flat, which is like your G chord, everything up a fret. So it's 1, 1, 3 is your ending chord. G major, A flat major. And our starting chord, rather than being 2, 5, 3, is going to be 3, 6, 4. And that's a B flat minor 7. We've got A minor 7, up 1 fret, B flat minor 7. And then we're going to move that ring finger. Is it a ring finger? It is a ring finger. Down 1 fret to our now E flat dominant 7, D dominant 7, E flat dominant 7, up 1 fret. So we have B flat minor, E flat dominant 7, and then to our A major. And again, you can put in that dominant 7 with the 3rd fret again, 1, 1, 3, 3, or you can just leave it off and not play the E string. And then once you've got that shape, it's all closed, so now you can go anywhere on the fretboard. And that's all just using those bottom 3 strings. You never even have to touch the E string. And because that E string is totally freed up the whole time, you can also move this whole pattern across onto the to the D, A, and E strings. So our first chord, rather than being 2, 5, 3 on G, D, and A, it's going to be 2, 5, and 3 starting on the D string. 2 on the D, 5 on the A, 3 on the E. And that becomes E minor, 7, A dominant 7, and then D major, which looks like the top 3 strings of your normal D chord, just leaving out the G string. A little higher pitched, but it still sounds good. And then you can move that all over the fretboard. And that's 2-5-1s in every key. So you're well on your way to being more comfortable in a bunch of new keys playing chords. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.